Welcome ladies and gentlemen to the second part of Static Skyrim, in which the Imperial pornstar Helgar has reached level 3 after many hours of bloody trial and error. This video will cover 3 parts of Static Skyrim as in-depth as I can, after only reaching level 3. But I have to admit, reaching level 3 with a character never felt so rewarding. The topics of this video are combat, the economy and how to get started after the prologue. If you want to know more about the mod in general, please check out the prologue of this series where I introduced this mod. You can find it on the mod page with the link down below. Combat, the economy and how to get started are all related, but let's begin with a small guide on some best practices I discovered while basically dying all the time. I have spent many hours with this mod while recording the most interesting parts. Just a small disclaimer, I will not cover playstyles or anything like that. I leave that entirely up to you, but I think there are a few general concepts that apply to all players, without spoiling the mod and your playthrough. These concepts I will discuss and you can join the discussion in the comments down below. Also feel free to ask any questions and I will answer them as best I can. The first valuable lesson: put the difficulty on novice. Like the mod author suggests, you will at least have a small chance to live. Once that's done, your main priority is to gain levels one way or another. Higher levels will give you more perk points and increased stats, and because enemy levels are static, this is the only way at some point to defeat them. The regular way of leveling by using your skills is the least effective way. Using skills grants you very little experience, and besides, a lot of skills are combat skills, and combat at level 1 is just a very bad idea. Crafting is an exception to this rule, and I found that especially smithing still gave decent experience. So how to gain levels then? There are several ways, but the cheapest one is to find skill books. They can be found in all kinds of places, of course. Aim for the ones that can be found in towns, because to access those you don't need to fight anyone, just don't steal them. Once you get some money, training the skills you intend to use is also a good and safe way to gain a few levels. This brings us to the second part of the video, the economy. Everything in Static Skyrim is bloody expensive. Rent a room, 100 gold please. Cart to Windhelm? You better have a good reason to go there because the fare is 230 gold. Fortunately, a horse is still 1000 gold and a really good investment. Just don't let it, die. Also, the fees for training have been increased significantly, with this dude charging me 600 gold to level my one-handed skill to 21. So, the $1 million question is how to get rich. There are a few options, some more feasible than others, depending on your playstyle. I tried stealing stuff, but everyone has spidey senses and I got caught immediately. Even at night when everyone is asleep. It seems that unless you spend perk points in sneaking, stealing is virtually impossible. Crafting is a viable option. Run around to gather ingredients, brew potions, be amazed at the pace your alchemy level is not increasing, and sell the potions for insanely low prices to vendors. Unless, you guessed it, you got perk points in speech. Without spending a perk point in anything, you basically just totally suck at it. Which is of course awesome. Smithing is another possibility, one that fits my Imperial pornstar warrior with abs of steel quite well. And should you be able to gather the right ingredients to upgrade your gear, a really cool feature in crafting, then the new armors are worth some serious money. The charity buff also helps, by the way. You can try to get some ore around Whiterun, which should be fine as long as you aren't spotted by crazy friends and bandits, who even chase deer in Static Skyrim. A third option is to simply start hunting. Pelts are valuable assets, and even if you don't use them for crafting, they are worth a pretty septim. Deer are decent if you can catch them. I was able to kill a small pack of wolves and the cute version of mud crabs. Anything else roaming the wilds will basically instantly kill you. A last possible option, which is totally safe, is doing some chores. For example, plowing the farm fields or providing citizens with some firewood. It takes a bit of time, but by spending an afternoon working, leveling suddenly becomes affordable. And it is also a good idea to do some small delivery quests, to put some gold and items in your pockets. The first part of the main quest is really easy, for example, and could give you some valuable armor. By doing these things for a couple of hours and dying in the process, I was able to gain at least a level, and went out to focus more on the combat. This brings us to the last part of the video, where I will share some insights which my many deaths have taught me so far. Let's get into the combat. To just put it out there, combat is ridiculously hard, even after putting my difficulty level to the recommended novice setting. There is not a single cave you can clear, because bandits are a lot smarter than their vanilla counterparts, meaning they will alert their colleagues. Before you know it, you will be overwhelmed. The mod author also put extra enemies in various caves, making it even more difficult. Caves with bears or trolls in it are also really not an option right now, and if you somehow come across the mage, you will most likely die. This doesn't mean that combat should be completely avoided until you are level 10. It does mean, however, that you need to prepare for an adventure every time you set foot outside a stronghold. These preparations include quite a few things that you can do. For start, getting a follower is a really good idea. Your follower can distract enemies while you swing your sword at them, doing hardly any damage. Or you are the meat shield with your follower filling them with arrows. I found both ways to be relatively effective. Then make sure you carry some potions, especially health potions. I had one at almost every fight. You also want to spend some time on getting some food and eat that before you encounter villains. The health regen from the veggie soup will be invaluable. You can further enhance your stats by using shrines and other ways to buff yourself. This way you will be a little bit less squishy. Being rested also helps with your damage output. Then there's the combat itself, which changed a lot more than I anticipated in the prologue. Apart from the fact that enemies are tougher, they are also smarter. You will find them blocking more attacks, but also getting help. You have a real hard time taking down a single bandit with your follower and yourself, but once two more show up, you will soon be looking at your loading screen. Usually though, bandits outside of their camps can be scavenging the wilds, either by themselves or in pairs. Those bandits can be taken down with some help. In order to defeat enemies, you have to be creative. You can't take them head on, but you can make use of traps, for example, or lure them towards people that will engage them as well. Take this flame atronach, for example. This thing either kills the guard at some point, after which I can loot the armor, or the guard kills him, granting me a valuable ingredient. The same is true for this predator, which I can never kill on my own. Get him to follow you to a bunch of guards though, and that priceless pelt is yours. Another thing to consider is to just partially clear a dungeon. The first part of Bleakfall's Barrow can be completed at level 2. Just stop once you encounter Draugr. That first part yields you some gold though, some items, some experience and perhaps a skill book. And just increasing a skill at the start is really worth the effort. A new feature are debuffs that you will suffer from an enemy attack. An arrow can cause pierced lungs, for example, and blunt weapon attacks cause clunk. Your stats will temporarily be lowered, but after your organs have healed, you will come out stronger with a permanent buff. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, that kind of thing. A really cool concept that will have you struggling for 10 minutes, but afterwards buff your stats. The last thing about combat is that you don't necessarily need to engage. More often than not, you will find people fighting already. I've seen hunters kill an entire bandit camp. I just walked in later and looted the camp. The same is true for animals. Those deer are way too fast for me in my iron armor, but the wolves will make short work of them. After which I kill the wolves, double the pelts for a little effort. I hope these tips and tricks will help you navigate through this brutal but oh so fun mod. I intend to do at least one more video about the changed perk trees. If you have suggestions about content for this mod, or are wondering about certain aspects, please let me know in the comments down below. I will try my best to make another video out of that as well. Ladies and gents, thanks for watching. I will see you soon. Bye bye.